Hello and welcome to our webinar, Adult Faves. I'm Donna Seaman, Editor-in-Chief for Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom an hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on the screen in your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or if you need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting caption settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be removed. All right, today we have the pleasure of hearing from a wonderful panel. We have Melissa Croce, Senior Marketing Manager at Simon Schuster. We have Golda Rademacher, Library Sales and Marketing Director at Norton and Co. Grace Caternolo, Library Marketing Coordinator at HarperCollins. Rudy Martinez as the Director of Marketing at Soho Press. And Melissa Nicholas, Senior Director of Library and Academic Marketing at Hachette. First, today we'll hear from Melissa Croce. Melissa is the Senior Marketing Manager for Adult Library Titles at Simon & Schuster. Melissa's been with the company since 2020, and when she's not reading everything from romance novels to poetry to narrative nonfiction, she likes to root for her many favorite hockey teams, play D&D, and watch K-dramas. Thanks for joining us, Melissa.
Being here, everyone. Saw a question in the chat from Pam about trends that are emerging this year, and what a timely question, because I have structured my presentation on titles requests that I saw that were popular at ALA, which are thriller, horror, and romance. So let's get started. Next. First up, we have what I call the first part of my trick-or-treat themed presentation, Tricks, which is thrillers and horror. Next. Okay, Herculine is a horror debut following a woman who seeks refuge in an all-trans girl commune, only to discover the demons haunt her fellow comrades and she's their next prey. The unnamed narrator of Herculine has demons. Sure, her life includes several hallmarks of the trans girl sob story, but she also regularly debates sleep paralysis demons. Nothing, however, prepares her for the new malevolent force that's stalking her through the streets of New York City. Desperate to escape the evil, she flees to rural Indiana, where her ex-girlfriend started an all-trans girl commune in the middle of the woods. The secluded camp, named after 19th century intersex memoirist Herculine Barbin, is a scrappy operation. However, something still isn't quite right at Herculine. While trying to untangle the commune's many mysteries, she discovers that her demons have followed her, and this time they won't be letting her go. Okay, I see that my audio is being weird, so I'm going to turn my camera off and see if that helps. Okay. Next, we have Her Wicked Roots by Tanya Pell. This is a queer retelling of Nathaniel Hawthorne's classic Gothic story, Rappaccini's Daughter. In search of her missing brother Edward, Cordelia fled the oppressive charity school she was raised in. Using clues from his past letters, she sets off for the sleepy town of Faro, but everyone there claims to have never heard of Edward, and not even the man he apprenticed under. With nowhere to go, Cordy turns to Lady Evangeline, a local botanist who owns the magnificent Edenfield State. The lady of the manor has made it her mission to take young, traumatized women into her employ. She's hired as a maid and companion to the lady's daughters. And Cordy quickly settles into Edenfield. But as her relationship with daughter Briar blossoms, Cordy can't help but suspect that there are secrets in the estate. And when she stumbles across evidence that Edward was once there, she's determined to find answers. Next. The Gallery Assistant is a twisty and sinister thriller perfect for fans of Katie Hayes and Julia Bartz. November 2001, Chloe Harlow wakes up late with hazy memories of the party the night before. When she finally arrives back at work, which is an Upper East Side art gallery, she's called into her boss's office. There, a pair of NYPD detectives greet her, also curious to know about how her evening ended, because the host of the party is dead. Chloe struggles to piece together a complete picture of that lost night. Everything begins to feel like a conspiracy, and maybe it is, because Chloe is the only one who glimpsed the secrets the murdered artist left behind, and the closer she gets to the truth, the more deadly it becomes. Next. All right, The Midnight Knock by John Frank. This is a locked room mystery meets white knuckle horror. In the frigid West Texas desert, weary travelers converge at a lowly roadside motel nestled at the foot of a massive mountain. Ethan and Hunter have left behind a corpse, a fire, and a horrific act of violence. Kyle and Fernanda are fleeing for the border. Stanley and his granddaughter are returning from Mexico with a mysterious man in hot pursuit. All of them are on the run from something, and they're hiding something too. And somehow they're all connected to the motel's other guest, a woman named Sarah Powers. Within hours, Sarah is dead. The strange twins who run the break-in motel inform the guests that her murder demands justice, and they're given an ultimatum: uncover the killer by midnight or die when the protective lights around the hotel go out, because something very old and very dangerous lurks in this corner of the desert, and it's hungry. Next. Okay, I'm going to pause real quick, and I heard my audio still bad, so I'm going to try and take my headphones off and see if this will help.
Okay, can everyone hear me better now? Let me know in the chat, Booklist people. I'll keep going for now. Perfect. Okay, sorry about that. This is Blood Trail by Matt Query and Harrison Query. This is a poacher turned game warden who's on the hunt for a bloodthirsty cult. Clark Rickard was once the most prolific big game poacher throughout the Rocky Mountain West, but when he lost his family, he turned away from hunting. Now a game warden working for the very law enforcement officers that once pursued him so aggressively, he is overwhelmingly successful at his job. So when there is a string of disappearances in rural Montana, Clark is selected to join a task force on an operation targeting a mysterious violent cult in the area. As he works to uncover the truth, he begins to be plagued by visions and starts to realize that there is a deeper purpose to his assignment, and the cult might be up to something far more terrifying than anything and anyone could have guessed. Next. Everyone in the group chat dies is a murder mystery that fuses the comedy of Friends with the serial killer thrills of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Kirby Cornell needs a break from everything. She has a bad apartment, a dead-end job, messy roommates, and of course, she's carrying the secret of the terrible thing that they all did together. Luckily, that hasn't caught up with her just yet until a new message of their old group chat pops up. Everyone in the group chat dies. It's the first text her ex-roommate Esme has sent for ages, but that's not the weird thing. The weird thing is Esme died 12 months ago. Next. And now we're moving on to treats in romance books. Next. The Magical Quigley Sisters return in The Witching Moon Manor, which is a follow-up to the Crescent Moon Tea Room. The Crescent Moon Tea Room is thriving after a much-needed expansion, with the ladies who step through its doors continuing to seek comfort in the glimpses of their futures found in the swirls at the bottom of their teacups. The sisters are doing great in their new roles. That is, until they find themselves stumbling on said chosen paths, and they're drawn back home in search of refuge in each other's company. With all three of the Quigleys back in the warm comfort of the Crescent Moon, they set out to bargain with fate once more. But will the sisters find the courage to embrace who they've become while returning to what they left behind? Or will the future unfold in a way that even a Quigley couldn't have predicted? Next. And then there was The One is a new historical romance set in 1930s England with a murder mystery twist. In a quaint village in the Cotswolds, Georgiana Radcliffe, aka Georgie, has become an amateur detective on accident after helping solve 4 murders in a single year. When the chairman of the village council turns up dead, everyone agrees it's an accident, but Georgie isn't so sure. In fact, she rings London up for a famous detective to help her. But that fancy detective instead sends his secretary, Sebastian Fletcher Ford, a womanizer who's looking for an escape, much to Georgie's dismay. But as they investigate the town, Georgie finds that her previous assessment of Sebastian may have been wrong, and rather than solving a murder, she might be solving for love instead. Next. Backslide is a second chance romance perfect for fans of Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez. For 2 decades, Nellie has avoided her first love and heartbreak, Noah, but the gig is up when their respective best friends, Ben and Kara, plan an intimate vow renewal at a vineyard in California. Nellie is determined to keep ancient history from ruining this trip, but dangerously close quarters bring up feelings both Nellie and Noah have carefully locked away for years. Written in alternating timelines, we see the teenagers fall in love and fall apart in 1990s New York, while in present day they grapple with whether there is still something real and unfinished brewing between them. Can they find a way to move forward, or will they backslide? Next. Anne of Avenue A is not an Anne of Green Gables retelling, sorry about that, but it's actually Jane Austen's Persuasion meets the Big Apple. 8 years ago, Anne Elliot broke Freddie Wentworth's heart when she refused to give up her 5-year plan for the sake of adventure. Despite big dreams, Anne is 30 and living at home with not a plan in sight. She tries to be optimistic, but thanks to her father's bad spending habits, her childhood apartment is rented out to none other than Freddie himself, who thought he'd never seen Anne Elliot again after she broke his heart. He spent years trying to forget her, and he's mostly been successful. Of course, fate doesn't account for throwing them back together. Nearly a decade after their romance, the only thing they have in common is to avoid each other, but thanks to a lot of hijinks, they suddenly find their lives more intertwined than ever before. When old feelings start to rise to the surface, they have to decide whether to put their hearts on the line or walk away all over again. Next. Speaking of Jane, celebrate her classic novels with Ladies in Waiting, a short story anthology starring forgotten characters as they experience their own happy endings. Blurring genres and taking us across the oceans, Ladies in Waiting is a heartfelt celebration of Jane Austen and her timeless masterpieces. Next. And An Academic Affair is perfect for fans of Ali Hazelwood, Abby Jimenez, and Sally Thorne. Sadie and Jonah have been academic rivals since they first crossed paths as undergrads in the literature department many years ago. Now that a highly coveted teaching opportunity has come up, their rivalry hits epic proportions as they both desperately need the teaching position. When Sadie notices that the job offers partner hire, however, she hatches a plot to get them both the job. All they have to do is legally get married. It's a simple win-win solution, but when sparks begin to fly, it becomes clear that despite their education, these two may not have thought this whole thing through. Next. All right, here are some of the resources we have to offer created just for you. To explore them all, make sure you go to that URL at the bottom of this page, simonandschuster.net/library. While there, please be sure to check out all of the resources here and RSVP for our fall seasonal showcase event happening Thursday, August 14th, where I'll be presenting even more titles than I did today, and we'll be joined by special guest, author and librarian Becky Siegel-Spratford, who will present her upcoming book, Why I Love Horror, in case you wanted some more tricks and treats. Next. That is everything for me. Thank you so much for being patient, especially with all of my audio troubles. As Donna said earlier, you can download all of the slides and spreads in case you missed anything earlier. And you can find all of the titles that I presented on NetGalley and Edelweiss, so please be sure to read, review, and vote for library reads for them all. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And the sound is perfect in the second or the third, 2/3 of it. Great books, great fun. Next up, Golda Rodemaker. Golda is the library sales and marketing director at W.W. Norton and Company. She gets many of her books from the Delta Township District Library in Lansing, Michigan. Her new favorite bookstore is Dead Time Stories, also in Lansing, but she's also loyal to Schuyler Books in the Capital Area District Library. Us book fanatics, we just go everywhere for books. You can find Golda on Instagram and Blue Sky at WW Norton Library. And you should definitely sign up for Golda's newsletter. Thanks for being here, Golda.
Thank you, Donna. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This time I'm going to cover some fall books that I haven't presented in earlier webinars, and I have a look at 3 of our winter titles coming next year. But first, some highlights for August and September. We have a new book by Mary Roach. Yay! Her books are always entertaining and educational, and she's not afraid to dig into all the details. And in his new book, Dark Renaissance, Renowned scholar Stephen Greenblatt reconstructs Christopher Marlowe's brief life and shows how his involvement with the Queen's spy service inspired his writing and led to his death. Library Reads votes for October titles are due by September 1st. Effed Up Fairy Tales presents modern retellings of some of the strangest and darkest stories humans ever invented. In Happy People Don't Live Here, a reclusive mother and her daughter move into a haunted building full of eccentrics, ghosts, and secrets. And Joy Harjo's new book, Girl Warrior, offers inspiration and insight for navigating the many challenges of growing up. What Remains After a Fire is a debut collection of stories spanning modern-day Pakistan and the diaspora in the United States. Kanza Javed unspools the lives of characters desperately trying to forge a path for themselves on the margins of society. These stories reach across divides of class, gender, and religion as Javed examines questions of identity and agency, belonging, and loss. This is a moving portrayal of fiercely resilient characters who desire more than what their circumstances can offer them. In her new book, We the People, acclaimed historian Joe Lepore argues that the Constitution was meant to be malleable to meet the needs of the day. Challenging both originalism and the Supreme Court's monopoly on constitutional interpretation, Lepore argues that the framers never intended for the Constitution to be a static document, but instead expected that future generations would be forever tinkering with it, improving the machinery of government. Lepore offers a sweeping constitutional history, telling the stories of generations of Americans who have attempted everything from abolishing the Electoral College to guaranteeing environmental rights, hoping to mend America by amending its Constitution. The Monsters We Make by Rachel Corbett tells the story of criminal profiling from Victorian times to our own. She talks about the appeal of profiling, but also its limitations and potential abuses like predictive policing. She uses examples from history, literature, and contemporary true crime to examine how thin the lines separating those who do harm and those who aim to stop it can be. So if all those get ready with me videos on social media are making you rethink your skincare routine, you need The House of Beauty by longtime beauty and fashion journalist Arabella Siccardi. Weaving sharp analysis and vivid storytelling, Siccardi explores how beauty myths are crafted, sold, and weaponized, from corporate boardrooms to local salons. She delves into issues like the exploitation of refugee labor in nail salons, the use of fragrance in fascist propaganda, and the hidden connections between power and profit. Siccardi challenges readers to confront the industry's costs and reconsider beauty as more than a product of consumption. The House of Beauty is an expose and a cultural reckoning, offering insight into the industry's true impact and the untold stories behind its illusions. In Chronicles of Ori, Harmonia Rosales retells the African myths she has long treasured, crafting an enthralling epic that spans the birth of the universe to the modern world of colonialism and resistance. The stories are interspersed with her gorgeous paintings, so it's like an art book and a mythology book in one. And John Bacon's new book, The Gales of November, tells the definitive story of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Drawing on more than 100 interviews with the families, friends, and former crewmates of those lost, Bacon explores the vital role Great Lakes shipping played in America's economic boom, the uncommon lives the sailors led, the sinking's most likely causes, and the heartbreaking aftermath for those left behind. Focused on those directly affected by the tragedy, The Gales of November is an emotional tribute to the lives lost and a propulsive, page-turning narrative history of America's most mourned maritime disaster. From the New York Times bestselling author of The Lost Art of Reading Nature Signs, Hidden Seasons is an eye-opening original approach to the popular topic of the changing seasons, revealing a whole world of clues and signs that shows there's much more to see and explore around the four seasons. A cloud of dancing insects in a sun pocket, for instance, marks an interesting moment in the spring calendar to see the link between astronomy and animal behavior. In 12 chapters, you'll uncover each granular seasonal change month by month to more deeply understand the way nature makes its way through a year. Drawing inspiration from dance moms, celebrity viral videos, and pop stars, Lucky Girl by Ali Tagle-Dokas is a darkly funny debut novel about the absurd and fleeting nature of childhood fame and the ever-evolving desire for family and forgiveness. 12-year-old Lucy is discovered and cast on a new dance reality show. But when his pop star judge Bruce takes an obsessive interest in Lucy's raw talent, Lucy's life suddenly becomes what she's always wanted. Or has it? Growing up in a whirlwind of talk shows, movie sets, and extravagant Hollywood parties, Lucy slowly grows more alienated from her family. And when a series of mistakes comes back to haunt her, she finds she must free herself from Bruce's world of fame and all its trappings and decide where her home truly is. The Jaguar's Roar is the story of an indigenous Brazilian girl's kidnapping during a colonial expedition, intertwined with a young woman's modern-day search for identity and ancestral truths. This is the author's fifth novel, but it's the first to be translated into English. The book powerfully challenges dominant historical narratives by centering the voices of these stolen indigenous children. In the section set in contemporary Brazil, we meet Josefa, a young woman searching for her roots. The translator is a Brazilian native and seasoned journalist with years of experience reporting on Brazil's social and political landscapes. We have 3 new Norton shorts coming out this fall. Written by leading-edge scholars, each of these eye-opening books delivers bold thinking and fresh perspectives in under 200 pages. And now I have a peek at 3 of our winter titles. The catalog has just gone live on Edelweiss and will be adding digital arcs as soon as they become available. We are thrilled to be publishing best-selling author David Guterson's next novel. Evelyn in Transit is about defying expectations, hitting the road, and seeking the right way to live. Evelyn has always been a misfit. She's easily bored, unsuited to life at school, and asks odd questions about faith and time. Seeking to be true to herself, she hitchhikes across the American West taking odd jobs. She has a son, and then 5 years later, a trio of Buddhist lamas show up at her door to announce that her son Cliff is the 7th reincarnation of a recently deceased holy man. The Lama's visit sets off a family crisis and a media firestorm over Cliff's future. Lucy Kogler from Talking Leaves Bookstore is an early fan, and she said, "Each character is fleshed out and complete. It is a glorious exploration of meaning and purpose." I hope some of you remember Heating and Cooling, which was one of my favorites when we published it in 2017. That book introduced the concept of the micro-memoir, which is kind of a cross between poetry and memoir. In her new book, The Irish Goodbye, Beth Ann Fennelly uses her humor and insight to explore family, marriage, motherhood, place, and coming of age. Some of the pieces are just a couple lines long, and some of them are a few pages. Full of unexpected wit, The Irish Goodbye is a record of the interstitial interactions, like encounters with strangers, quirky observations, and unexpected flights of fancy that make up a richly lived life. And from a popular cartoonist comes a wry graphic memoir that traces the sometimes harrowing journey through medical school and residency. In See One, Do One, Teach One, Grace Ferris combines her passion for illustration with her vocation as a doctor. The book chronicles Grace's path through medical school and residency. Readers watch Grace confront the heartbreaking realities of caring for patients. Grace also discovers moments of joy, making her first correct diagnosis, finding kindred mentors, and when she least expects it, falling in love. Intimate and insightful, See One, Do One, Teach One captures the human side of healthcare, an empowering and entertaining addition to the conversation around modern medicine. So here's my contact information again, and you can sign up for the library newsletter through this library marketing link. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Great. Thank you so much, Golda. Just want to remind everyone to look for Booklist reviews. All right, next up we have Grace Cananolo. Grace is the library marketing coordinator at HarperCollins Publishers. When she's not tying up odds and ends for the Library Love Fest team, you can find Grace reading coming-of-age novels next to her cat or watching TikToks for, and I'm doing air quotes, work purposes. Thank you, Grace. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. I have a lot of books to talk about, so we're gonna get right to it. But first, we have some housekeeping. So next, you can find us on socials. Library Love Fest, librarylovefest.com is a one-stop shop. Next, today we have a episode of Writers to Watch at 5 o'clock. I know it's Eastern time. It's a little bit of a hard time. We do have some friends from the UK, so that's why. But we have Mitch Albom, Catherine Newman, Akwege Emezi, and Julie McMillan. And next, more authors for you tomorrow at 2. We have 3 thriller/mystery writers who will be talking about why their books are great for book clubs. Next, I'm actually going to skip this one because everyone has that title list, so I'll get right into the books. Okay, so our first book, this is a huge book for us, Some Bright Nowhere by Anne Packer, coming out in January. She is a best-selling and beloved author, and this is her first novel in over a decade, and it is well worth the wait. It is a profound and moving book that follows a long marriage and a request that's going to change everything. Elliot and Claire have been married for nearly 40 years, living in a small Connecticut town where they've raised 2 children. Their marriage had, the typical ups and downs, but everything was, turned on its head when Claire was diagnosed with cancer. 8 years later, the family is preparing for her inevitable death. Elliot has been Claire's devoted caretaker and husband. He'd do anything for her, but with her final wish, it just breaks his heart, and it asks questions like, what do you do when that happens? How well do we know our loved one's closest request and what they really want? So his entire life with her is put into perspective as he deals with her final days. It's emotionally complex, intense, and tender, but also hopeful, and explores the gifts of truly loving someone. Next, we have Hostage by Eli Sharabi. This is a very big book for us. It was a drop-in for the fall. It's reminiscent of Elie Wiesel's Night and Laura Hillenbrand's Unbroken. It's a profound witness to history. On October 7th, 2023, Eli Sharabi was kidnapped by Hamas, and the life he built with his wife and teenage daughters was turned upside down. He survived 491 brutal days in captivity as war raged on outside. And this is a searing first account of a hostage story of hunger, heartache, and loneliness. But it's also the story of strength, hope, and resilience, and not one to be missed, and is one of the first books that we have on this war. So next we have Would Be. This is the highly anticipated debut novel from an award-winning memoirist, T. Kara Madden, who is a diasporic Native Hawaiian writer and the author of the acclaimed memoir, Long Live the Fatherless, the Tribe of Fatherless Girls. So this is a striking conversation-starting novel. There are darker themes here, but they're handled with a lot of sensitivity and care, and it's just really breathtaking. So Birdie Chang chooses randomly to move to Whidbey Island off the coast of Seattle to make this desperate escape from headlines back home, her concerned girlfriend's eyes, and from Kelvin, a man who abused her as a child who is now resurfaced. On her way there, she has this unsettling encounter with a stranger on the ferry who, gives her this proposition, this sinister solution, such a tongue twister for me, this plan for revenge. But Birdie isn't the only girl that Calvin harmed, and we have Lindsay King, who's a former reality TV star who wrote all about it in her best-selling memoir. So the 2 women have never met, but their stories intertwine, and now that Calvin has been murdered, both of them are desperate to search for answers. It's this complex whodunit from alternating points of view, and it talks about the long reach of violence and our flawed systems of incarceration and rehabilitation. It's not a true thriller, but it has this suspenseful element that's going to leave you breathless. It's a little reminiscent to me of My Dark Vanessa or Notes on Execution, and there's a lot of buzz for this one internally, so we're really excited for people to read it. Next, we have Lake Effect. I'm really excited for this one. I'm a little biased because I'm from Rochester, New York, which is where the book is set. And it is by Cynthia D'Apri-Sweeney, who is the author of The Nest. Her first book and this book are lead read titles for us. So basically, our sales force picks one book each season that they said is like the big book of the season. So this was ours. And it is set in Rochester in the 1970s. And if you're familiar with Rochester, you know the city was ruled by Kodak, Xerox, and for many, the Catholic Church. It follows Nina Larkin and her oldest child, Clara. Nina is pretty unhappy with her marriage, but she's gifted the joy of sex at a book club, and she's now like, okay, I have a hard time ignoring this like lack of intimacy in my marriage. So she's longing for what she's missing, and she starts to have a fling with a neighbor from a prominent family in Rochester, which may or may not have reminded me of the Wegmans, but not related. This is fiction. And it kind of gives her the sense of freedom, but is also a major risk to her reputation and his. And all of this is happening while her daughter, Clara, is like falling in love and having her coming of age moment. So we jump in time, and Clara is now this successful food stylist in New York City, but she's never really moved on from the scandal. And when she goes back to Rochester for a family wedding, she has to make a big decision. It's insightful, deals with mother-daughter relationships, grief, loss, and touches on the question of what do we owe people that we love the most. So next we have The Burning Library by Gillian McMillan, and she is an international bestselling author of 8 novels, including The Manor House, which was a lovely library reads pick, so thank you. I'm not going to go into this one too much since she'll be on Writers to Watch tonight, but it is a feminist mystery with a strong puzzle at its core that librarians and book clubs are going to adore. So a woman's body is discovered on shore, and the family thinks she's extremely normal, but she's harboring this dark secret, a scrap of fraying embroidery that seems to be worthless at first glance. And then we have these 2 rival organizations of women who have gone to these deadly lengths over a century to secure that valuable artifact, in hopes of finding the original manuscript from which it was torn. And then we have a Dr. Anya Brown, who was chosen to join this exclusive Institute of Manuscript Studies, but it comes at this great personal danger. And meanwhile, a detective, Cleo Spicer, is beginning an investigation into the death. All of these women are in this giant web of secrets together. It's perfect for fans of Ruth Ware, and I think book clubs are really going to like it. And it kind of satiates that dark academia hunger. Next, I have George Falls Through Time. So we have been really excited about this in office. And it is just so original. It's really going to sweep you away. It's this genre-bending love story about a man who, in a moment of extreme stress, time travels back to the year 1300, where his modern problems are replaced by medieval brutalities. It's this confessional queer romance, a swords and sorcery soap opera, and a paradox-embracing reimagining of the legend of St. George and the Dragon. Lainey said at one point, I'm going to quote her because it was good. For anyone who thinks falling through hundreds of years and landing on your ass in a barren field sounds pretty good right now. Think Madeline Miller meets Monty Python. Next, we have The New Neighbors, a great twisty thriller from international bestselling author of The Woman Who Lied, Claire Douglas. Selena's neighbors, the Morgans, are sweet folks. They're retired. They just moved to this sleepy suburban street. And Lena overhears them planning this scheme, this crime, and she's taken aback, to say the least. And no one believes her, but she just cannot let it go. And she cannot think of let go of the idea that I could stop something horrible from happening. And she might be a little determined to do so to clean her conscience. So I am very excited for this one. It's also available as a simultaneous hardcover edition. And Lisa Jewell says that Claire Douglas is a class act. She never, ever disappoints. Next, we have Good Daughtering. So this book is going to have a wide appeal. Anyone who's a daughter, and spoiler alert, that's a lot of people. Dr. Allison M. Alford is a leading researcher and communication expert. She leads workshops, coaching, and consulting all about communication. And there's no one better to write this book. So if you're a daughter but aren't familiar with the term daughtering, no worries. It's pretty simple, and you're probably already doing it. It is the unpaid, invisible work of holding a family together. And typically, we see this a lot when it comes to eldest daughters in particular, taking care of their family, especially their parents as they age. So she draws on groundbreaking research and personal interviews to explore these gender roles and societal expectations, and gives actionable tools to change their roles. Next, we have Hormone Havoc. So This is from doctor, author, and influencer, Dr. Amy Shaw. She is a double board certified medical doctor and nutrition expert. She wrote the books I'm So Effing Hungry and I'm So Effing Tired, which feel very relatable. But this is a book on perimenopause and menopause. And we know the typical experience of people going through menopause is hot flashes, mood swings, anxiety, brain fog, all from these hormonal changes. And she says that we don't have to just live with these symptoms, which can be unbearable. So, this focuses on targeted nutrition. She talks about managing these side effects, and there are 20 recipes to maximize these benefits to help you get better sleep, clear that brain fog, and just feel better overall. And I don't think there are enough books on this topic, so I think this is really a must buy. Next, we have Hollow by Selena Myers. So we're thinking of this as Anne Rice meets Colleen Hoover. It's spooky, dramatic, and juicy. It's from the TikTok star Selena Myers, who is known to millions as Selena Spooky Boo. So this follows Mia, who's not even 25 yet, but she feels like she's past her prime. She's working at a bookshop. The job is supposed to be temporary, but here she is years later. And on top of that, after experiencing some fame as a kid, it's dissipated and she feels like she's nobody. She feels like she's just not special anymore. And then she dies in a car crash and wakes up as a vampire. And she's caught between these two warring vampire families and two lovers that she never expected. I think vampires are really hot right now, especially someone who loved Twilight as a teenager. I think we're seeing a lot of similar things in the fantasy market, but not enough vampires. So this is going to scratch that itch. Next, I have It's Not Her by Mary Kubica, and this is my last book. You know her, you love her. So two families are vacationing at a secluded lake resort, and there's a chilling crime and mysterious disappearance. Courtney's world is turned upside down when the scream from the cottage next door leads her to find her brother and sister-in-law dead and her niece missing. And secrets emerge about the family. She learns about a local missing girl case, and she's determined to unravel the mystery. So that is it for me. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Grace. So much to look forward to. Now we'll hear about more books from Rudy Martinez. Rudy is the director of marketing at Soho Press, where he has worked for over a decade, promoting titles from Soho Press, Soho Crime, Soho Teen, and Hell's 100 imprint. He's based in New York City. Welcome, Rudy.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. As you know now, I'm Rudy. I'm from Soho Press. I'm going to be talking to you specifically about books from our Soho Crime and Hell's 100 imprint, so mysteries and thrillers, and then some horror. Let's get into it. So first up, this is easily our biggest release of 2025. Clowntown, internationally best-selling author of Slow Horses, Mick Herron. This is the 9th book in his Slough House series set in the world of MI5. It's a big piece of what's going to be a massive year for Mick. Not only is there a new season of Slow Horses starring Gary Oldman, the Emmy-winning Apple TV Plus series behind these novels coming out in September, but there's an adaptation of another Mick Herron series. This one's going to be called Down Cemetery Road. It stars Emma Thompson, who's amazing. Also dropping this year, also from Apple TV Plus. That's going to be at the end of October. So we've been keeping the details of this one pretty guarded. We're not really passing around galleys. We have been told that there's to be no public discussion of major plot points. But Mick's editor, Juliet Grames, she gave me a note that I can share with fans. And so I feel pretty comfortable reading from that. I don't think I can get in trouble for quoting her. So here we go. Quote, I'm not exaggerating when I say that never in my editorial career have I been more entertained, enraged, and ultimately rewarded by a plot twist than by the almost impossibly clever one Mick Herron has pulled off in Clowntown. End quote. So just a little taste of what's there. There is a big, big change to the Slough House universe coming in this book. Fans, do not miss this. Don't wait to dive in. If you haven't caught up with the Slough House series, just as kind of like a bit of endorsement here, NPR calls Mick the best spy novelist now working. There's still time to do that before the next season of Slow Horses. That's Clowntown by Mick Herron. Next up. Now I have for us a historical mystery series debut from the author of the 42nd Street Library Mysteries, Con Lehane. Con's new series is set in 1950s New York, and it introduces Mick Mulligan, a newly minted PI in Hell's Kitchen. He's a former Hollywood cartoonist who was blacklisted during the communist witch hunt. He's broke, he's divorced, he's in need of some way to pay his child support payments. So his first gig is brought to him by a local labor leader, and his task is to investigate the murder of this kind of universally hated cab company owner named Irwin Johnson. One of Irwin's drivers, an African-American Communist Party member named Harold Williams, was arrested, tried, summarily found guilty, and with his execution date 2 weeks away, Mick may be his last hope. So, research, obviously the name of the game in historical fiction, and you'll get that in spades, really rich stuff here in this mystery. But Khan is also a lifelong labor activist and labor educator. He knows the story of greed and corruption and the fight for workers' rights firsthand. He knows that power distorts the truth and sort of works to maintain itself at all costs. This is a spirited, lively crime novel shot through with unmistakable authenticity, set in a distant era, but one that's not totally bygone. And its timing really, unfortunately, seems to improve by the hour. That's Red Scare Murders by Con Lehane. Let's go to the next one. Sticking with historical fiction, next up is Hachette by New York Times bestselling author Cara Black, who many of you may recognize from her Amy LeDuc series set in Paris. This is a decided change in tone from Cara's other series and even her other World War II thrillers. She's introducing here a young woman, the titular Hachette, whose fight for survival in post-World War II Paris delivers this poignant, suspenseful portrait of living, surviving, but even thriving in the face of nearly impossible circumstances. So the story opens after liberation in the spring of 1945, and it's there we meet 17-year-old Hachette. She's had everything taken from her by the war, her parents, her home, her sense of safety. She's pregnant and she's on the run from enemies that her father made before the war began. And she's got nowhere to turn. She has no choice really but to reinvent herself entirely if she wants to survive. So she lands this job assisting a legendary and sort of legendarily temperamental film director. And her role with him sort of develops from helping with chores all the way to cooking his books. And she finally sees an opportunity when she gets into the shadier side of that business to forge a new path forward for her young family. A standalone novel introducing a new heroine is a rarity from Cara, but as she's done over and over throughout her writing career, she's delivered a fascinating, richly detailed portrait of historic Paris, a really propulsive drama, and a fierce lead character guaranteed to make some new fans. That's Hachette by Cara Black. Let's go to the next one. This is one that we think readers are really going to be buzzing about, debating, passing around. Her One Regret by Donna Freitas. You may recognize Donna as the author of another book club favorite, The 9 Lives of Rose Napolitano. Her One Regret is the story of a mother, Lucy Mendoza, who disappears from a grocery store parking lot, leaving behind her infant daughter in a shopping basket and her cell phone under a nearby car. It's the story of Lucy's best friend, Michelle, who's terrified of what horrible fate may have found her friend, but she also has a secret. Lucy has told her that she regrets becoming a mother and that she's fantasized not just of running away, but of faking her own kidnapping. It's also the story of Julia, a talented artist living in the same town where Lucy went missing, who's struggling with new motherhood and her marriage, who feels isolated, creatively empty. She feels like she's lacking sort of basic autonomous personhood. And she's now totally obsessed with what might have happened to Lucy. Did she escape like Julia is thinking about every day? Was she taken by someone who's still roaming her town? Her One Regret is a real conversation starter. It's going to have readers talking about motherhood, marriage, affairs, the lengths to which we'll go to sort of preserve our own identities, or at least this idea of ourselves. And something that I think is truly taboo, that a woman might regret becoming a mother. I think everyone's going to really, really like this one. We've been buzzing about it in the office for a long time. Donna's awesome. Check it out. Her One Regret, Donna Freitas. All right, next up. This is a really exciting new novel translated from Japanese by author Jose Ando, Jackson Alone. You may be aware that Soho Crime has a really rich history of publishing Japanese crime fiction, both classic and contemporary, but this is a real departure from much of what we have already in the catalog. And it's kind of this singular angle in on contemporary Japanese society. So the book tells the story of Jackson, a half Japanese, half Black massage therapist who's working in a corporate office, whose sexual identity suddenly becomes the subject of office gossip after a really violent pornographic video featuring someone who could be him starts to circulate. So Jackson surreptitiously meets three other queer mixed race guys in the office and sort of the community around the office. And he learns that he's not the only person being targeted in this way. So together they concoct this plan to find out who's responsible. And in the meantime, they're having a lot of fun switching identities, playing tricks on people, boyfriends, bosses, people who've wronged them, exploiting the fact that nobody can seem to tell them apart. It is a short little gut punch of a novel. It's deadpan, it's angry, it's tender at times. It's a frank exploration of identity, race, and queerness in contemporary Japan that I think announces Jose as one of the big voices in international crime fiction. That's Jackson Alone. Let's go to the next one. Now to move on to our Hell's 100 imprint. First up, I have The Glowing Hours horror debut from author Leela Siddiqui. This is one I'm so excited to talk to horror readers about, as it combines some of my favorite things about the genre, this kind of sense of slow building dread, supernatural, love that, particularly haunted houses, really, really love that, and a reappraisal of a familiar story in the world of horror literature. So the book opens in 1916 London, where Maranisa Begum has just arrived on a boat from India to find her brother and deliver a letter of inheritance to him. Her brother doesn't arrive, and instead, through a series of kind of very confusing last-minute choices, she's instead lured into a boarding house for Indian housemaids and eventually sent to work in this shabby English estate run by Mary and Percy Shelley. Mary takes a liking to her new housemaid, asks her to accompany the Shelleys and her stepsister, as well as Lord Byron, his physician, John Polidori, to a villa on Lake Geneva for the summer. The Villa Diodati is, of course, where Shelley wrote Frankenstein that summer. And while the book being written, Frankenstein being crafted, and this incredible cast of characters I mentioned are present in the text, it's Mare's voice that takes center stage. As she spends her time kind of moving through the house, observing its famous inhabitants, the strangeness of this place begins to really reveal itself. This is a must-read for haunted house and Gothic lit fans, Mary Shelley fans, readers interested in familiar stories told from underrepresented perspectives, historical reimaginings, anyone interested in AAPI and particularly South Asian narratives. That's The Glowing Hours by Leela Siddiqui. So finally, on our horror list, I have The Captive from Kit Burgoyne. This is the first horror novel from Kit. It is a wild, genuinely funny, in kind of like a bone-dry British sort of way, supernatural horror thriller about the emergence of an ancient evil in the form of the newest baby born to a British corporate dynasty. So it tells the story of a group of sort of semi-competent anti-capitalists who kidnap this woman, Adeline Woolsall. She's 23. She's the pregnant heir of the most powerful, wealthy family in Britain and the force behind one of the globe's dominant corporations, only to realize that she's got this supernatural force protecting her. As it turns out, Adeline's about to give birth to a baby with terrifying powers, may or may not be the Antichrist. It's a fun, funny horror book with something to say about the perverting nature of unfettered capitalism, and it has a direct through line to some of the genre's best stories. In fact, this is one that I've been pitching as Rosemary's Baby for the conspiratorial moment that we happen to live in. So that's The Captive by Kit Burgoyne. I'm Rudy. Please be in touch with me if you have any questions. Almost all of these titles are available for request on NetGalley and Edelweiss. Sign up for a librarian newsletter, and thanks so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rudy. All right, Melissa Nicholas. Melissa is the Senior Director of Library and Academic Marketing at Hachette Book Group. After graduating from Fordham University, Melissa worked as a bookseller and general manager before moving to Hachette in 2011. There, Melissa is devoted to adult library marketing efforts. Melissa looks forward to library conferences, webinars, and buzz panels, virtual ones too, because for her, books are where it's at. Yes, indeed. All she wants to do is read and watch tennis. However, Melissa can get behind a good House Hunters episode. That's her preferred suspense level. Welcome, Melissa.
Hello, yes, I am Melissa, and I'm standing in for the one-of-a-kind Annie Mazes, who's celebrating her birthday. So I'm like keeping my fingers crossed that I don't embarrass her. We'll see. Next slide, please. Annie made a catalog for book clubs with discussion guides. I'm in 3 book clubs, and I personally love it when there's recipes in the book club guide. That's the official word on me. Next slide, please. Let's talk about big books. Ken Follett is back, returning to his long-form historical, epically researched style in a new novel about Stonehenge. and Gone Before Goodbye is a propulsive thriller written by the powerhouse duo of Reese Witherspoon and Harlan Coben. And The Book of Guilt is the first novel from our new imprint, headed up by Reagan Arthur. The imprint is called Cardinal. It's a light dystopian world where nobody won World War II, and three brothers are the only boys left in an orphanage whose dark secret is the reason for their existence and the key to their survival. It's creepy, and I managed to get through it. It's perfect for book clubs. Next slide. More big books. Amity is by the author of The Sweetness of Water, a gripping story about a brother and sister emancipated from slavery, but still searching for true freedom, and their odyssey across the deserts of Mexico to escape a former master still intent on their bondage. And Fairy Morgan is the atmospheric and bewitching novel by Louisa Morgan. It reimagines the story of Morgan Le Fay, one of the most enigmatic and powerful women in Arthurian legend. Next slide. Bound. We've just launched a new imprint, Requited, that will focus on fast-paced, romantic, bingeable novels across genres that center characters in their upper teens and 20s as they navigate early adulthood. This kicks off with Bound and Fourth Wing. Its Fourth Wing meets The Hunger Games in a spicy, page-turning romantasy where humans and direwolves forge unbreakable bonds and fight for survival at all costs. It's like 17 and up. Next slide, please. The Night Is Not For You. All 7-year-old Layla dreams of is freedom, but when terrible murders hit close to home, Layla realizes that freedom is not so easily achieved. With whispers of the signs of a vengeful female djinn at the crime scene, the men begin to suspect the women around them. Of course. Anyway, but Layla learns that this violence is not the fault of the women in her neighborhood. It is the response to the world around them. It's inspired by Middle Eastern folklore and for readers of Stephen Graham Jones, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and Jessica Johns. It's a literary read, and the exploration of growing pains and feminist themes will appeal to a wider readership beyond horror. Next slide. Okay. Whew. The team is over the moon for this novel about a Norwegian man on the final day of his life and the ghosts he encounters from his life as he sails across the fjord for the last time, looking forward to meeting up with his wife again. It's a story of a life well lived and filled with love, joy, sadness, and family. It's in the spirit of Amor Towles and George Saunders. It's a beautiful translation. We hope readers are as moved by it as we all are. And I think we could give Annie the best birthday present ever and nominate it for the Library Reads list, please. And thank you. Next slide. Uh, If you loved Princess Di so much that when she died, your brother said to you through your tears, I didn't realize you knew her. And if you have watched multiple Trooping of the Color events, this book is for you. Returning to London after a freak accident, this makes Lexi the heir apparent. She is greeted by a skeptical public not ready to forgive her defection and a grieving family ready to destabilize the monarchy. With 1 year to decide what to do, Lexi must chart her own destiny, continue her flourishing and rewarding medical career in Australia with romance, or the crown with the eyes on her all the time. As a journalist who's reported extensively on the British royal family, Rebecca Armitage brings expert knowledge and refined perspective to this character-driven novel, perfect for fans of Taylor Jenkins Reid. Next slide. Hemlock is a novel grounded in human psychology, exploring very real themes of addiction and recovery, familial trauma, and queerness through beautiful literary writing. And it also sports a wildly appealing Gothic slant with heart-pounding mystery at its heart. It's got an evocative setting and magical realist elements. Sam is finally sober and stable with a cat and a long-term boyfriend in Brooklyn. She returns alone to Hemlock, her family's deteriorating cabin, where her mother disappeared years before and has never returned. But a quick practical trip takes a turn for the worse, and the forest starts to creep in around the edges of Sam's mind. And it starts, as it always does, with a beer. Next slide. This represents a new direction for 3D, who I can say adores Annie, and rightfully so. Anyway, as the book unfolds, Aaliyah reports her wife missing, following a very heated argument, and as a gay Muslim daughter of immigrants, she can't escape the scrutiny and suspicion of those around her. Scared and furious and feeling isolated, Aaliyah makes one wrong choice after another. All the while, Sam is being held captive and terrified that she won't get out alive, and Aaliyah must fight to both prove her innocence and save her wife. It is a nail biter. Readers sweat it out, wondering whether the women will survive as a couple and even make it out alive. Give this book to your Liz Moore fans. Next slide. Molly's debut novel, Green Teeth, got a bunch of starred reviews from Booklist and also from Annie, so I'm excited for this one too. When Malt, the goddess of death, is accidentally turned human by a wayward spell, she finds she's ill-equipped to deal with the trials of mortal life. Unable to fend for herself, she teams up with a warrior Bellis on a perilous journey to the afterlife to try to restore her powers. As animosity slowly turns to attraction, these two women must learn to work together if they are to have any hope for surviving their quest. Perfect for readers of thoughtful historical fantasy and a witty reimagining of unexplored myths. Next slide, please. Over and Over is a sweeping speculative romance following two soulmates who have met in past lives but can never escape their tragic ending. This one will satisfy readers of Josie Silver and One Day, and there'll also be a reading group guide to encourage discussion about the themes of loss, love, and making the most of your one life. Next slide. Get ready for best-selling children's author Corey Haydu's adult debut. After a lifelong friendship and the consequential falling out, Sydney and May lose their inseparable mothers, one to death and one to overbearance. And when Sydney and May find themselves back in one another's lives, each with a baby girl on the horizon, it seems once again like destiny. Each begins to pull the other away from the coercive influences of outsiders, mommy groups, marketing schemes, artistic pressures, and ex-boyfriends. But the two women will soon discover that it's not destiny that has drawn them together this time, but a devastating secret at the center of their orbits. And a truth will finally bind them or shatter them for good. Excellent for readers of Claire Lombardo, J. Courtney Sullivan, and Curtis Sittenfeld. Next slide, and the last novel that I want to talk about from the author of Good Morning America and the book and the Library Reads pick, The Light Pirate, comes another sweeping novel about Ember, an ambitious archaeologist. Oh, but she's kind of a mess, y'all, in pursuit of a rare artifact from an ancient civilization that would not only change her life but potentially society at large. Thwarted once before, she resurrects her hope for a dangerous expedition with very little support, just as the rest of her career and personal life begin to collapse. Lily's writing is the perfect cross between commercial and literary, with slight speculative elements. It's in the veins of Emily St. John Mandel, and I think Lily is writing really smart, environmentally aware fiction. Okay, let's talk about some nonfiction. The Typewriter and the Guillotine is the thrilling untold story of the trailblazing writer Janet Flanner, Paris correspondent for The New Yorker, who sounded the alarm about the rise of fascism in Europe while becoming enmeshed in a sensational case of a German serial killer stalking the streets of the French capital on the eve of World War II. While working tirelessly to alert American readers to the dangers of the Third Reich, the columnist became gripped by the disturbing crimes of a man who embodied all the darkness she was being forced to confront. As an American in Paris, Flanner covered his crimes, capture, and highly politicized trial. Well ahead of her time, she strove for freedom and transformed a cultural institution in the process, making her a particularly inspiring figure for this present political moment. Next slide. This is a groundbreaking singular book on pain, a critical concern for our families and our communities. We're in the middle of a pain epidemic, and there's an accessible science-backed book that explains how pain medicine and how we can treat it, new ways, memorable concepts for treating it. Next slide. The food industry is a major driver of climate change and pollution, obesity, and animal suffering and workplace exploitation. However, these academics remind us that modern technology has made food more affordable, abundant, varied, and tastier than at any other time in history. And they want us to work even better with smart technology and common sense policies to continue to do so. Next slide. Who's Watching Shorty is about the R. Kelly case and the woman at the center of it all, who was only 14 when a video of her went viral with the legendary R&B singer. This is a tale of redemption, as Landfair reveals her relationship went on for years and has gone on to start a nonprofit for young women like her. The tone is conversational and offers lessons about healing. Next slide, please. Last title is Get Home Safe. We feel strongly that this book will serve as a necessary resource to help readers fight back and reclaim power. So, next slide. This is how to be in touch. Follow Hachette and the library marketing team. Thank you.
All right, another terrific presentation. What a great program. Thank you so much, Melissa. A big thank you to all of our presenters today. Looking to tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, the title list, the certificate of completion, and a video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit us at booklistonline.com/webinars. There you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones, like the ones you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Please visit Booklist on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. Booklist 2025, yes, Guide to Graphic Novels in Libraries, it's here. This year's special issue features articles on how to combat self-censorship, graphic memoirs for teens, readers' advisory tips, cat manga, and so much more. The digital issue is free and open to everyone on the Booklist website. Head over and start reading now. Thank you for joining today's fantastic webinar. One more big thank you to our eloquent panelists and to our sponsors, Simon & Schuster, W.W. Norton and Company, HarperCollins Publishers, Soho Press, and Hachette Book Group. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time. Stay well.